I went to college in Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. And my freshman year, I was feeling very challenged and very stuck because for the first time in my life, I genuinely felt challenged beyond my limits. I could not really see a way out of this rut I found myself in, and I was struggling. At the time, a resource available to me was an advisor. They paired us freshmen up with some faculty members to serve as advisors and counselors. And so I made an appointment to meet with mine, and I told them, hey, um, I think I'm having a very challenging time here, and I feel bad for being here because I don't really know how I'm going to get out of this rut. And in fact, I feel like I have robbed another person's opportunity to be here because I got lucky and I just happened to land here instead of someone who is way more capable than I am. And then the professor replied back to me, and that perspective helped me get through my freshman year. And that perspective was he told me that he was actually part of the committee for selecting incoming freshmen. And so he gave me a little behind the scenes of the process. He couldn't recollect obviously if he specifically reviewed my application, but he let me know that there was a committee of people and they are evaluating a batch of applicants. And as they are reviewing this isn't like a luck of the draw process. They actually go through a bunch of criteria to kind of evaluate the candidates. They have a quorum and they have a discussion, and eventually they come to a agreement about from this batch, who are we going to intelligently success instead of rolling a dice. And so, therefore, it's not that you were randomly chosen to be here. It's that a group of people, a group of highly qualified people who do this for a living, um, have gone through a systemic process and reviewed your application with others and have selected you. So have faith in that system and have faith in that possibility that other people saw in you and then proceed forward. I'm heavily paraphrasing because it's been many years, but that is the gist of the pep talk, so to speak, that I got. Why this is important to you today is I want to talk to you about negativity. When we are in our negativity, it's so easy to get consumed by it, like other emotions and like other feelings. If you're feeling happy, you get really overdriven by happiness. When you're feeling lonely, and nothing feels like it's good enough when you're so alone and such, right? But sometimes it's just the simplest perspective shifts that get us out of that negative zone, and that perspective shift, especially for negativity, um, is going beyond and going one level up and observing negativity from the distance. So in this episode, I want to kind of explain the different kinds of negativity and help you with each type of broad negativity. So this episode is named Know Your Negativity. So I categorize negativity into more or less three kind of categories. And the first category is based on the ego-based negativity. The second category is habitual, like you are negative out of a habit. And number three is trauma-based negativity. So let's go over each one. The first negativity is the ego-based one. So what is the ego-based negativity? There's in broad strokes, what I mean by that is the negativity that comes from attaching to yourself ideas. The negativity that comes from comparing your ideas and your thoughts against other people's and other things. And then the resulting negativity from that process is what I'm calling ego driven negativity. And I brought three examples, but after you hear the examples, you can probably extrapolate what kind of negativity specifically is your ego-based one. So number one in the realm of ego-based negativity is I'm right and everyone else is wrong. So this seems like a very contentious kind of a statement, but so many people have problems of thinking like this. Well, it's not that it's a problem, but when you think like this, that you're right and everyone else is wrong, you're bound to have problems because, number one, the world doesn't really bend to your wills. Nobody has to listen to you. You don't have to listen to anybody. So that's where the nature of this problem rises, right? There's no harmony because no one is really required to agree with anyone. And now, the deeper you have the values about being right, and why they are so deep is they're kind of part of your fabric, part of your being, part of your personality, part of your personhood. And so it's so obvious to you that you are right. But other people obviously don't live in your brain, and therefore, from their perspective, they're as right as you are, and you're as wrong as you think they are. But when we are just trapped inside of our head and stuck to the thought that I'm right and everyone else is wrong, how can they even think like that? Like, are they stupid? How are they stupid? I'm doing like all of this work trying to tell them that they're wrong, but they're just rejecting my ideas and how blah 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 and so on. So this is the first kind of ego-driven negativity where you're very focused on being right. And now I briefly kind of glanced over how to think of reframe this is that number one, your right is only right to you. Like we can both agree that dogs are cute, but my reasons for believing dogs are cute may be wildly different from why you believe dogs are cute. And so when you get to really think about how this other person came to believe that, while at the same time really retracing your thoughts and processes and going back to why you came to believe that you are right. So when you explore both trajectories of rightness in each person's perspective, this really, really helps you understand from the other person's perspective. Oh, then this isn't like a right or wrong thing. It's either a misunderstanding or a perspective issue. So that's the first kind of ego-driven negativity. And the second one is everything is unfair. Everything is unfair is kind of what we like to call the victim mentality, right? I'm doing all these things right, and I'm doing the work to be a model citizen, but I'm not getting my dues, and other people have it so much easier than me. And this comes back in terms of like the most prominent examples of this I see are related to relationships and kind of looks basically, right? Oh, that person did nothing to be 6 feet, but then I'm 5'4", and or things like, oh, that person has a perfect nose while my nose is so big and stubby and such. And so everything feels so unfair. Like other people, oh, look at them, they have trust fund money and their parents are rich, but I'm not. And again, this is focusing on not my rightness, but it's still focusing on my lack. And my lack, especially, is highlighted by other people's abundance. And that hurts. So that's why this is also a type of ego driven negativity. So, how do we walk around this? Well, the fact is, for everything that you have positive, there's a flip side to it. There's a negative side, right? So there's a lot of going back to the looks topic. When you have a lot of like gifted looks and you generally look good, then you have a lot of people talking behind your back about, I bet that person is really shallow and stupid. Because guess what? Like being good looking is often attributed to being shallow because, oh, they probably don't have to work a day, hard work a day in their life because everybody just wants to kneel for them. So while in theory that feels like a good thing, it's kind of a prejudice against them as well. And so when you don't have looks going well for you, there's plenty of examples you can think about, like why that also works in your favor. And so this applies to race, this applies to economic, background and everything. And now, am I saying, therefore, let's just establish world peace and everybody has to agree with one another? No. But what I'm truly saying is, when you focus on your negatives and the more you focus on your lacks, the less capacity you have in your brain to really appreciate the things that you do have. And especially the things that you have unfairly advantaged over other people. Because world isn't really like fair in the, like good, bad kind of a system, but everyone's life is just uniquely different from everyone's perspective. And so that difference is what attributes to either good or bad depending on your perspective. And so what you may feel is really unfairly bad for you, other people can totally see that as unfairly advantageous towards you. So just by being aware that I'm solely focusing on the negatives and kind of catching yourself having that kind of black and white thinking of everyone else is so much better than this. And for me, everything sucks. That kind of catching that black or white thinking itself can be kind of a distance management tactic for this kind of negativity. And the third type of ego-based negativity is nothing has a point because I'm not good at it, right? And so when this strengthens, this sort of becomes depression, right? Like, what's the point of doing anything? Well, I always say depression is you understanding life halfway. What I mean by that is there is no greater point in life. So that's kind of really good, right? It's really nice because you don't have to try hard. So the only point in life is to just enjoy the time you have here by doing the things you like, loving the people around you, and sharing what you have with the world, and receiving sometimes the things that you get from the world. So that's nice. But why the therefore everything is pointless, therefore it's bad is because there's a hierarchy in the mind that says you have to be good at something. And if you're not, you're worthless. If you're not good at anything, you're worthless. And therefore you find yourself comparing yourself to all the other people who seemingly have a lot more skill. They're more talented. They're better than you at grades. They're better than you at looks. They're better than you in some other area. So you feel like, wow, there literally is no point in me existing. I don't add anything into the world. And you can see how that kind of perspective can be very, very damaging for the psyche. But the thing is, you do have value in the world. Maybe not right now, because you are focused on not doing anything. But what's the greater point of being alive? Why did Buddha say the only thing, like, every living person can be happy? Why does Jesus and God try to save all the living human people on the earth, regardless of whether they have sinned or not? Why do all these great religious figures give people chances? It's because no one is fated to their doom. As long as you're alive, you always have a chance to start anew. Whether that be by accepting the wisdom from Buddha and becoming a practice a life of intention and giving and finding your happiness there, or accepting the Lord words in the Bible and finding yourself a new disciple of God, or pardon my ignorance with other religions, but I'm sure all the other religions have some way of entering into that world of life and finding a new purpose. Part of my dog's barking. But now, the greater point in this is I'm not asking you to be a religious person. I'm trying to get you to understand the fact that as long as you're alive, you always have the opportunity to work with your brain and become a person independent from the past. And every day is a new opportunity for you to do that. And so, yeah, today might suck. I have days that suck too. You can find it on my YouTube channel that I often talk about my life not feeling that great at times. But the thing is, there's always tomorrow. And there's always, even right now, I can just decide to change my mind about things and move forward. And so I want to put you in touch with that. So to sum up, ego-based negativity is like I'm right and everyone is wrong and everything is unfair because I'm the victim and nothing has a point because I'm not good at it and I need to be good at something. This is kind of a three examples of ego-based negativity. And for ego-based negativity, generally what you want to do is connect yourself with the world and the possibilities out there, especially connecting with the world by talking with people. And here's a very, very, very specific tip: go out into the world and give yourself first to other people and then see where that takes you. It can be in the form of a donation, it can be in the form of volunteering. But at the same time, when you meet a friend, try and offer a little bit of yourself. Like instead of asking them how they're feeling and just scratching the surface of things, next time you hang out with someone, really kind of share a piece of yourself and now see how the other person reciprocates. I think there's a lot of stigma around like trauma dumping, so to speak. But the thing is, when you don't really have a lot of experience in giving yourself to other people, giving your presence to other people, you just don't know where that line is. Like, is this socially acceptable? Is this fun conversation? Or is this like trauma dumping? Or am I being too much? You don't really have an opportunity to explore that fine line if you don't talk about yourself a lot. And the thing is, some people may find it really weird. Some people may find it kind of mundane. Some people may not give you the I mean, you're there. Some people might not give you your expected response. But the thing is, that's sometimes a good thing. You may be really surprised at what happens when you put yourself out into the world first, because that is what tends to return the energy back into you, and your life now becomes like a flowing communication between two entities. And basically, your life, the more you focus about it inside of your head, the stronger these problems will be. So if you want to kick these problems, you have to practice a way of going out into the world first. Okay, so that is the ego-based negativity, and the second type of negativity is comfort-driven or like habit-driven. So why I mix the two together is because what's easiest? Following your habit. Your brain signals are electrical currents going through neurons, right? And electricity, like water, always travels the path of least resistance, right? And so thoughts and actions are the same. Feelings are the same. You're just going to repeatedly do the things that you're used to doing simply because you're used to doing it, right? And so now, like you may feel a lot of negativity, and it's because you wanted to wake up earlier. You wanted to start becoming more diligent by doing the more chores and such. But then, guess what? If your habit has never led you towards those steps and you're trying to do it, of course it's going to be. So for these, you have to realize that it's expected that breaking a habit, whether it's for good or bad, is going to be really, really, really hard. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but having the compassion for yourself by thinking, oh, yeah, crap, well, the thing that I'm about to do, I've never done it before and it's never been an established habit before, so therefore it's going to be hard. That compassion itself can give you a lot of break. And how do you build a new habit? You have to optimize for repetitions, which I'm going to probably talk about in another episode. But your best friend is reality. So, for example, I wake up at 6 a.m. every morning, but I wasn't always like this, right? I always used to wake up at like 9, 10 a.m. ish. But I went through a profound unconscious shift that made me really want to wake up at 6 a.m. So for me, it was a one step. But I've tried before and I always failed. So while my initial shift to 6 o'clock is coming from a strong commitment that was caused by an unconscious shift, how I keep it is by repetition. So for you, you may have an unconscious shift that makes you want to do a complete 180. But if not, you have to learn how to work with reality. So if you wake up at 10 a.m. every morning, then realistically, what's going to be possible for you? 9:55 or 9:50? You start with that and you consistently wake up at that time. Why? To build a proven track record of you being committed to yourself. The biggest commitment that we miss, the biggest habit that keeps on forming and reinforcing itself every day is you not committing to the promises that you make with yourself. So I don't care what it is. If you're a fast eater and you want to eat slower, you have to commit to that by making a realistic goal and keeping promises with yourself. It's hard, but if you always break promises with yourself, you can tell why new commitments are going to be hard, right? So at first, if you're new to this journey, please make a habit, make a new habit, make a new commitment to work with realistic, achievable goals and have a habit of committing to achieving that. Even if it's trivial, you just expand that contract you have with yourself into greater areas. But it can't start if you don't have it at all. So change the way that you honor yourself, and that's how you solve the comfort or habit-based negativity. The third is trauma-based. And I would even argue that trauma-based negativity is a form of habituated, and comfort-based negativity. Now, how I define trauma is unprocessed feelings of facing mortality. And facing mortality is a very, very, very big experience, whether it be yours or whether it be other people's. But the thing is, we live in this, our current society distances us a lot with things that we don't necessarily want to see, right? So all the packaged foods and all the processed foods and all the items that are shipped to us in completed form. We are used to receiving and getting things in final form instead of understanding how things usually are coming from the source, what transformations they go through to arrive at what we see. And but the thing is, life and death, it happens to everybody. We're all here because we're alive. And the one inevitable thing is we're gonna die. But because we're usually so distant from these things, when we get an opportunity to peek closer with our fate of death, it tends to leave a very, very big mark. And now that death is not just physical. It can be the death of a body part. It can be the death of a part of you. It can be the death of an era of you. It can be the death of another era of a person. It can be the death of a career for another person. So, for example, a very close friend of yours gets laid off at work. Now that's gotta be a big feelings for you. Suppose you get fired at work. That's gotta be a big feeling for you because you are faced with the mortality of your own career, right? And divorces, needless to say, amputations, and family death of family members, and so many other things like the failure of a business and having to file for bankruptcy. Uh, Death of pets, and so many other deep hurts originate from facing the mortality of those ideas or those images. And so for those, we really need to take a processing or healing from those experiences. Those events naturally invite a lot of emotions. And when those emotions don't have a chance to play themselves out, they get stuck. They're in a blockage. And just like this pimple I have on my neck right now, when something accrues and there isn't an outlet for it, it usually starts piling up and starts forming a lot of pain, starts forming a lot of grief, starts forming a lot of externally visible symptoms. And now how to let it go is to get into a safe environment where you can process those feelings without being overwhelmed by them. And so one great avenue for it can be therapy. Another great avenue for it can be coaching. Another great avenue to aid this process can be drugs, especially related to, like your neural chemistry. But neurochemistry itself won't process your feelings for you. So it's important to have at least one way of understanding that there's some blocked emotions here and getting through it in a safe environment. And that can be as simple as writing a comment and engaging with your life coach here, or booking some time with me or any other life coaches or therapist of your own choice. But having that in the back of your mind, especially for the times where you're gonna need it, is the resource I want to give you today. Well, that's the episode, and today just to summarize, we talked about negativity today. The three branches of negativity, so to speak, in my opinion, are ego-based negativity. For that, you need to connect with the world, and comfort and habit-based reality. For that, you want to commit to yourself and build experiences of honoring your relationship with yourself, and the trauma-based negativity, which incorporates a lot of healing. That's it for this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments or email me at billy@julylifecoach.com. I'll see you in the next episode.